Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, July 3rd, and I'm your host, Kristen McDonald. Sunday night, the town saw an unprecedented rainstorm that dumped over 5.5 inches of rain in just under 2 hours. Most of the town saw massive amounts of flooding, downed trees, and damaged roads. Brian Boudreau tells the story.
Sunday night, Norwood saw an unprecedented rainstorm that dumped over 5.5 inches of rain in just under 2 hours. There was extensive flooding all across town. Norwood Hospital was one of the hardest hit areas. Emergency crews responded and began staging a full response to help evacuate patients.
We found we have flooding throughout the building and power loss. After crews evaluated the situation in conjunction with Norwood Hospital staff, it was determined that we were going to have to evacuate the LaRusso building. Logistically, that was a difficult process. We needed more manpower, we needed ambulances, we needed lighting to light up the stairwell and the hallways of the hospital. So we set up a command post, initially led by Deputy Chief John Cody.
And we started assisting our most critical needs, starting with the ICU. They had no power. So we put a place in, command was originally established at the Norwood ER. As further companies and chief officers arrived, we established a new command post outside the old ER on the back side of the building. We systematically worked the third floor, the second floor, and then down to the emergency room of LaRusso, that being our most critical part of the building that needing evacuations.
Our job really there was to make sure that they could do their work. We had officers blocking Broadway and East Hoyle Street. We had an officer helping ambulances stage on Guile Street. We actually had officers going into the hospital helping to carry patients because the elevators were out. We brought in off-duty personnel to help with that. We also put in a call out for the Metropolitan Law Enforcement Council, and we had about 25 officers from surrounding cities and towns come just to help us carry patients, get them into the ambulances, and then fire departments took them where they needed to go. So that lasted really up until about midnight. They were still evacuating patients Monday morning, but those were more ambulatory patients. The bulk of them went out Sunday night.
The number one concern for President of Norwood Hospital, Salvador Perla, and his staff was the safety of his patients during the evacuation.
Probably around 70 or 80 so patients were relocated last evening. We continue that process today. We're doing the same thing. Yesterday we took our sickest patients out, got them out really quick. Today we're working on our patients that have more minor illnesses, and that process is going to continue. The hospital is temporarily closed. So if you are seeking emergency care and you call 911, and even if you live in the town of Norwood, you're going to be relocated to another hospital while we continue to work on assessing our damage and getting us back into a safer place.
President Perla was very appreciative of the response by Norwood Police, Norwood Fire, as well as neighboring communities. Perla was also extremely proud of the response by the hospital staff.
So regards to our staff were nothing less than amazing. From the food service workers to the nurses to the technologists to the therapists, everyone pitched in during a code black, which is what we call when we were in a dire situation. Everyone worked as a team. We were here all night long. Thank you to all of these individuals who are dedicated to Norwood Hospital and all the patients that we serve in our communities. There is also, we're working with the town. The town has been fantastic. They're sending out text message alerts, massive phone tree alerts, letting people know that at this time you need to seek care at an alternate location. And then lastly, again, I really can't thank everyone for the process. We couldn't have done this without all the towns, the fire departments, the town. Everyone has been excellent, and we look forward to getting our last few patients out today and then working on getting our facility back up and running.
Norwood Hospital was not the only area to see extensive damage. Director of Public Works, Mark Ryan, explains more.
And I'm standing on Subway Hill on Washington Street at a repair site of the sidewalk. Water came down so fast in such a short period, the street drains could not handle it. Up above Subway Hill is Chapel Street, and the drain system just couldn't accommodate the amount of water, which eventually just started cascading over the walls and into the area adjacent to the stairway. It literally carried rocks weighing 30, 40, 50 pounds into Washington Street and then it would start ripping up the sidewalk, which we are standing on right now. What needed to be done the next day is Public Works had to come out and repair this sidewalk, remove any of the loose and damaged concrete or asphalt, compact it, and then put asphalt back. There were many incredible things that went on during this storm event, a storm event that dropped 5.5 inches in a very short period of time. It was unprecedented in this town. Numerous tree limbs down, some trees down, manhole covers were popping, debris in the road all through town. It was quite an event. So DPW crews did their best on Sunday to get the roads open and ready for the next day, which was Monday, and we went right back at it, sweeping streets around town. We have one street sweeper on board in-house, and we hired 2 more to sweep the neighborhoods. In addition, we have the downtown outdoor seating, which we set up with Jersey barrier type units, and they were actually carried away by this event. They were carried from in front of Limey's, which is Washington Street at Vernon, and carried right down Washington Street, then down Cottage, all the way to Broadway. It was just an incredible sight. So DPW spent most of yesterday putting that back in order for the businesses to do their outdoor dining. Today we're still out there street sweeping, clearing debris, and just trying to get everything back as normal as possible. I've been with the town of Norwood since 1999, 21 years. Never in my life have I seen such an event like this come so fast and in such force. There were literally waterfalls going down Cottage Street, top of Prospect Street. Water was 1 foot deep. Top of Norwood, Prospect in winter, 1 foot deep in the roadway. It was just an amazing sight. Hopefully never see an event like this again.
The Norwood Recreation Department also took the brunt of the storm. For more, we go to Recreation Superintendent Travis Farley.
We had about 4 inches in our weight room. Our custodial area got flooded, unfortunately. Our recreational supply closet got flooded. Our multi-purpose room got flooded. We're currently assessing some of the weight room equipment to see if it's salvageable. Working with the town, Kathy Carney, to come up with a list of what's salvageable, not salvageable. Obviously, we had some considerable amount of water here in the Civic Center last night. Some of our playgrounds got hit pretty hard. Haas Pool, we had some flooding in the bathhouse. The pool actually overflowed itself onto the pool deck and then in the bathhouse. So we have to reset all the chemicals, clean up all the flood damage at the bathhouse as well.
Severe flooding was not the only damage done that day. Norwood Light Department was very busy dealing with power outages.
And we had a significant power outage throughout the town. It involved, we lost 3 of our distribution feeders. We have about 20 distribution feeders that feed throughout town. The 3 that we lost involved probably, at the worst case, about 4,800 customers. Might have been out of 16,000, to give you a magnitude. There were a number of smaller outages also throughout town. On the 3 feeders, the causes were 2 of the feeders went out at the same time due to a lightning strike at its high point. That was the Moore Street feeder and the Chapel Street feeder. It involved the areas of Pleasant Street, Moore Street, South Norwood, and some of Walpole Street area up in Westover. The other feeder that went out was the Pleasant Street feeder, which involved Factory Mutual Road, some of the Route 1 businesses, and that was caused by a lightning strike on Factory Mutual Road. The outages varied in length, but most of them were back within a few hours. Switching was done. They were isolated. We did have some additional problems as we picked them up, switch failures in one case, and the tree limbs kept on coming down, so the trees were a constant source of problem. We also had a great deal of difficulty in getting around with all the flooding. Your normal route to get to a location was very often blocked, and you had to turn around and try to find your way around.
Thanks, Brian. The Norwood School Department was also affected by the storm. At the Balch School, a large branch fell across the front steps of the school and was removed by the Buildings and Grounds Department. The Cleveland School playground was completely underwater, and at the high school, the water was so powerful it lifted a manhole right onto the parking lot. The school department was lucky and did not have any damage inside any of the school buildings. On Tuesday, the town announced that they were declaring a state of emergency. For more on this, we go to Town Manager Tony Mazzucco.
Hi there, folks. General Manager Tony Mizuko coming to you with a special announcement. The town has declared a state of emergency in result of the June 28th storm with the wind and rain and flooding damage that we have seen. And as a result of that storm, Norwood Hospital is temporarily closed. We're working with state and federal partners to declare a state of emergency. That way we can hopefully look at funding to help residents and businesses in the community. We'll update everyone as soon as we have more information and resources available. Beginning on July 1st, if you're a resident and you suffered major damage as a result of the storm, please email us your name, address, and phone number in a brief description of your damage to managers@norwoodma.gov. Once again, that's managers@norwoodma.gov. Please email us if you can, your name, your address, your phone number, and a brief description of the storm damage. If you're unable to email, you may call the Citizen Information Center. We'll update everyone when we have information available, and we're working diligently to find resources to assist residents. Thank you for your continued support during this challenging time. We wish everyone well, and if you need anything, please reach out to us, and we're here to help.
Thank you to all the men and women that worked long hours responding to the storm damage. We'll be right back after this break for some more town news. Welcome back. The Rec Department has made an announcement on one of their more popular annual events. For more on this, we go to Travis Farley.
Hi Norwood, Travis Farley here with the Norwood Recreation Department. Just a quick update about Norwood Day. You might have heard already, but unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we've decided to postpone/cancel Norwood Day this year. We are obviously bummed about the decision, but it's the safe thing to do right now. We feel it's in the best interest of the community to cancel this year, unfortunately. We hope everyone comes back in 2021. We are hoping to do maybe some sort of fireworks later in the fall, but we apologize. We hope you stick with us. If we do have any postponement, follow us on social media for any updates. Stay safe, Norwood. Hope all is well.
Thanks, Travis. Toward the beginning of last weekend, an armed robbery took place at Apna Bazaar by Dean Street. Norwood Police was quick to arrive on scene, and the subject has yet to be identified at this time. The chief is back to brief the public on the incident.
Friday night, unfortunately, we had an armed robbery at the Apna Bazaar. That business is located at the corner of Route 1 and Dean Street. And at about 9:30, a single subject, a masked male black, carrying a handgun, walked in. There were two employees there at the time. He forced one to the floor, forced the other to open a cash register. He stole the cash, and he fled. Our officers got to the scene very quickly. We were actually off with Norwood Fire at a fire in the Don and Wally's area, which is very close to where this robbery occurred. And we were there at the time. So officers, of course, rushed to the scene. Sergeant Payne was in charge of the shift at the time. He very quickly established a perimeter. We called in a K9. K9 came from the Westwood Police Department. The officers conducted a very thorough ground search. They did not locate a subject within that perimeter during that search. Our detectives now have taken over the case. Detective Paul Ryan is the primary for us, and he'll be responsible for the investigation into that robbery. We only get a handful of robberies in a given year at any of our shops in town, and so we take these all very, very seriously. We are paying special attention to markets and potential hold-up sites, of course, in the wake of this robbery, and we're working very hard to identify the subject who is involved.
Thanks, Chief. Construction at the Skating Club of Boston on University Ave continues to move along during the current pandemic. Norwood Community Media was able to go inside earlier this week to get an update on all the progress.
And now joining me is Mr. Doug Zegheib, Executive Director of the Skating Club of Boston. And we're standing here in the East Rink.
Yes, this is the East multi-purpose rink. This will have both figure skating and hockey, and it's going to be the home of the Norwood High School hockey team. So we're going to have the scoreboard at the end for hockey scores. That's going to have the Norwood High School logo on it. Importantly, we're going to have the Norwood High School logo in the ice, and then we're planting championship banners along this wall. So when you come in, it's also going to have the gold and blue colors. You really know that this is the home of Norwood High School hockey.
We're here in the east entrance where the Mustangs will be the envy of the Tri-Valley Conference. Doug, when people walk into this space, what can they expect?
So a couple things. This is a warm-up area to our right, and it's got glass that overlooks the rink, and flat screen TV, so folks can be comfortable watching their kids skate. But importantly, on this long wall here, we are featuring a full mural of the history of the Norwood Mustangs. So working with Jack Tolman at NCM on this, and it runs the whole length of the wall, the history in photos, organized by year. I've seen the early shots of it. It's really cool. We're pretty excited about it.
That's incredible. I'm sure a ton of people from town will want to see if they made the wall.
Yeah, I'm sure they want to see if they made the wall, but I think they're also going to learn a lot. I know I learned a lot just looking at the photos early on. It's pretty cool.
To watch the full update, check out NCM's Facebook page later next week. Stay tuned after this break for some sports and government news.
Do you want to stay up to date with Norwood Community Media? Then subscribe to our weekly NCM newsletter. Every Friday, our promotions department publishes an online newsletter that highlights the work of NCM and the latest happenings. It includes the full episode of Norwood News, recent clips from NCM programs, behind-the-scenes photos, and so much more. NCM works hard to deliver a steady stream of Norwood content, and this newsletter is another way to stay connected to Norwood. To receive the newsletter, just visit www.norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Scroll to the bottom of the page, click the Sign Up for Our Newsletter button, and enter some basic information. You'll then be added to our newsletter mailing list. It's all here on Norwood Community Media, your home for all things Norwood.
Welcome back. In sports news this week, or should I say next week, summer baseball is set to begin. Both the Babe Ruth League and Massachusetts Independent Baseball League are set to resume play starting July 7th. Norwood's MIBL team will play Canton at 7:15 on July 7th at the Balch, and Babe Ruth will have games at 5:30 on July 6th. The Braves play the Cardinals and the White Sox play the A's in a championship rematch. Stay tuned for next week's sports updates for scoring updates from around the leagues. In government, the Finance Commission met Monday night with just one item on their agenda. Chief Brooks made a municipal relief request to the Finance Commission for a transfer within the police budget. After a brief discussion, the board approved it unanimously. The next meeting for FinCom will be July 15th. The Planning Board convened Monday evening. Agenda items included a site plan review for a warehouse building redevelopment on 750 Everett Street and an approval not required, or ANR plan, for 74 Ledgeview Drive. Some preliminary discussion took place on the idea of creating a stipulation in the bylaws that allow for age-restricted housing developments to be built. David Hearn was on the call to explain more.
Looking at other areas of the town in terms of what could be done for over 55, I'm sure several of you have probably heard from even some of your contemporaries. Some of you might be approaching 55, people who are thinking of maybe downsizing, staying in the town, and hoping to find a way to move into an over 55 and age-restricted development. The difficulty that some of my clients have come across is that we really don't mention it very much, except for the Forbes Hill site, and in our bylaw, and I think it falls then under multifamily use, which is allowed in several districts, not all districts. It's allowed in apartment district, general business, central business, highway business, and limited business.
The Planning Board will meet again on Monday, July 13th. Tuesday night, the Board of Selectmen voted officially to declare a state of emergency after the damage brought by the rainstorm on Sunday afternoon.
So I'd ask the board first to approve the emergency ratification of the declaration of an emergency.
Second. Anything on that motion? All in favor? Mr. Lang?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Hugh?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye, that's passed unanimously.
During the manager's agenda, Tony Mizuko delivered some good news to homeowners that may have damage to their homes due to the storm.
We have identified 2 funding sources, and the appropriate authority is confirmed by town council to go ahead and expend those 2 sources to offer up to a $5,000 grant per homeowner. We have a total of about $175,000 available to homeowners with demonstrated damage expenses greater than or equal to the amount requested. This would be an income-based program, so we would start with folks at 80% or less of the area median income, and then the second tier would be folks within 81 to 150%. It's the quickest thing we can do to provide some immediate assistance to this number of residents who are facing substantial damages to their homes. We are hopeful with our declaration of a state of emergency, and I'll talk about that in a few moments as well and what we're doing there, that hopefully state and federal funds will come as well. Hopefully a state declaration will come as well that will charge some of these costs to their insurance. But we're looking to get what resources we have and trying to be creative to the residents who need them as the most as quickly as possible.
The Selectmen will meet again on July 14th. To watch complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government Channel or watch it on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break for more town news.
Norwood. Here, we are chosen at birth. Our loyalties are predetermined. And our families, defined. Raised by the stories of those that came before us.
Here's a breakaway. Hold on, he's in back and score!
Fearlessly driven by the hope of what's to come. It chooses us. It defines us. And for us, it's everything. This is Norwood. And here, sports are in our blood.
Norwood Mustangs 2015 are the state Division I champs.
Welcome back. A big congratulations goes out to Norwood Police's Jeff Baguma, who was recently named the Norwood School District's School Resource Officer. He will be succeeding Paul Murphy, who is set to retire this upcoming January. It was clear going through the process to Chief Brooks and his staff that Officer Baguma was the right man for the job.
And then we had interviews on Friday, and in the end we chose Officer Jeffrey Baguma. He will do a terrific job. Officer Baguma is a great guy. Virtually everybody in town, I think, knows him. He's been serving as a motorcycle cop, which is a great job all by itself. It's very cool. But now he'll be transitioning through the fall to become the school resource officer. Officer Baguma has been the school liaison officer at the Cleveland Elementary. He was involved in setting up the bond program, which involved high school kids and police officers playing basketball together. He was involved in a milk program to bring milk to Norwood families when they needed it. At the beginning of the pandemic, he worked on the food drive. He's just always stepping up and going above and beyond what's needed. He's got a great personality. Both adults and kids love him. He's always reading at the library. He really just goes above and beyond. So we think it's a great choice. He's very, very happy with the announcement, and we look forward to having him in that role.
Officer Baguma was elated when he found out that he was appointed as the next SRO.
I really don't have the proper words to express how I felt, and I still feel right now. It's something that I've wanted to have for a while, and I put a lot of hard work into it. I do know that being in that position, I could affect a generational change, for the positive, because the children in Norwood are the key to our future.
Congratulations, Jeff. The kids are beyond lucky to have you by their side. The community garden, started back in 2012 by Together Yes, has been a great source each year for local produce. With the pandemic and current restrictions, Susan Clare was unsure if the garden would be able to continue this year.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Clare. I'm the manager of the Norwood Community Garden, which was very late starting this year. And when we were finally able to safely open up with many regulations in place for gardeners, we found that there are things we can plant and harvest and still bring home some food and provide some for the food pantry. And this year we do have several plots being grown strictly for the food pantry because a few gardeners decided to sit the year out because of the pandemic and have given permission for us to grow them this year for the food pantry. So you begin to get an idea of how this garden works as a community. Gardeners need to maintain physical distance. They have their masks on. If no one's within 20 or so feet of them and they're digging in the dirt, they can pull their masks down and breathe more easily. If they go near the gate or the hose where there are other gardeners, they pull their masks up and still maintain physical distance. I monitored this very closely the first few weeks we were open, and I have to tell you, I don't have to remind people. They are remembering. They're very respectful of one another, and they respect the damage this disease can do. So I'm proud of them, and I'm delighted that the Board of Health has agreed to let us grow some food this summer because we're out in the sun on the rare sunny day and the fresh air, and we are growing organic food in our 8th year.
Hi, my name is Satvika Komera, and I am currently going to go into sophomore year at Norwood High. I am 15 years old, and I've started volunteering at the Norwood MA Community Garden. At first, it started off as just trying to get hours and trying to build up to the amount of hours that Norwood High recommends. But then I've discovered a love for farming and gardening, and it's amazing. Just being in the garden makes you relax because you're surrounded by nature in all different ways and places, and it really just relieves the stress from you. Also, gardening really is an amazing tool and technique that can be learned by just volunteering, as those techniques can later be used in future life. And as I garden here, I'm learning new plants and how to take care of them and how to nurture for them so that if I do want to have my own garden when I'm older, I know how to. So that's basically me volunteering at the garden. It's an amazing experience. I really do recommend it for anyone out there who wants to volunteer here, as it's just an amazing thing.
Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great 4th of July weekend.